Hi everyone, welcome to Intro to Meditation. Today we're going to take a look at the things that get in our way for meditating. Now, just meditation is not necessarily going to immediately change your life, but what it does is it helps us get clear in the present moment, and it helps us to just for a part of our time try to be really present for what's happening. Internally, externally. But the tricky part is that things kind of lead us off that path. So we might start thinking about things, or we might start remembering things, and these are the obstacles to meditation. There's also some that don't necessarily involve the mind, but involve the body instead. So like sleepiness, sometimes we get sleepy when we meditate. So sitting, especially if we don't have enough sleep, but sitting or lying down. I don't lie down when I meditate for that reason, because I get sleepy and it turns into a nap. So for me, meditation is best if it's done kind of sitting up. I'm sitting on the couch today, but you can sit on a cushion. I like to do that as well. So finding a comfortable seated position, you can have the feet on the floor. I'm finding it a little bit more comfortable in my joints to cross at the ankle today. So you could do that. So, whatever's going to work best. Might be nice to have a little bit of a lumbar support here at some point. So I'll throw that in as well. I want the spine to be erect. I want my body to be steady. And then as best I can, I'm going to avoid sleepiness. If it comes over me, then the way that I can kind of work with that obstacle is I could either open my eyes just a tiny bit to kind of get a little more present in the environment and in the moment. Or I can decide to end my meditation practice for that day and, get a little more sleep or try different times of day. Earlier in the morning might be a better time to meditate instead of later at night, so if you just want to try to find the way that you overcome the obstacle of sleepiness is to experiment a little bit, and to make yourself do your meditation anyway, but just kind of slowly build up, or through different experiences. Maybe you'll find a better time, a better amount of time to meditate, so you don't get as sleepy. Because the practice itself, while again it's not going to necessarily revolutionize our life in a one practice, does have some benefits long term. And people who meditate regularly, who've been studied, have more brain activity. There's more activity between the hemispheres of the brain, which is important cognitively, but also, like, who doesn't want to be a little bit smarter, right? I mean, I would like to be smarter. So that's in and of itself something that would be valuable to me. And then also I find the kind of self-awareness and the ability to recognize when I'm caught in a loop, or when I'm not accepting responsibility for things or whatever. Those things all happen, and I catch myself when I sit down to meditate. If I don't, I can distract myself with all the other things going on in my life. But just sitting down every day for a few moments keeps me really honest with myself, and I think that's a benefit in and of itself. And I'll put up with some of these obstacles in order to get there. So another obstacle that comes up that is maybe a little bit more mental is this kind of dance between the two sides of the coin of aversion and desire. And those are the words that are usually used in texts. But what we're really talking about is the thoughts that come up where we want to be doing something else. So we're focused on, I wish I had, or I wish I were doing, or I wish whatever, I wish. That's the desire part, right? So whatever desire that might be, whether you're fantasizing about doing this thing or another thing, that's still desire. And what's interesting is if you meditate and you pay attention to when your thoughts go off in that direction, where they go, you might start to see some patterns. I certainly did. And then there is the aversion portion, which is those kinds of thoughts that come up for us that are like, this is a waste of time. I don't really like this, and the kind of grouchy, why am I doing this kinds of thoughts. So those two things often pull our mind back and forth during meditation. Like, we'll catch ourselves. And so those are also obstacles. They're technically considered two different obstacles in most meditation texts that you read, but it's basically the same, two sides of the same thing. I want this, I don't want that. So that kind of push and pull mentally will often come up. And if we can just catch it as it's coming up and release it and come back to the meditation, awesome. But often what happens is we start to trip down these avenues where we start to analyze the thoughts or make up more stories around the thoughts, and this thought leads to that thought leads to that thought, just like this sentence that I just said. So those are things to be mindful of or aware of or wary for, even maybe, is to watch, like, when you get caught in either the fantasy realm of things or you get caught in this kind of aversion or thoughts of, I wish I were doing something else. Like, I don't want to be doing what I'm doing versus I want to be doing that. When you get caught in those little riverbeds of thought, to be able to kind of pull yourself out for a moment and again become present. And so the steps that we use for mindfulness or meditation are going to basically be the same. So no matter what the things that kind of drag us away. Now, sleepiness is a physical thing. So we have those little strategies of sitting up, of, having the eyes open a little bit, of choosing a time to meditate when we're more alert, more awake. Those are the strategies to overcome the obstacle. The obstacle can still show up no matter what. So there are other obstacles to meditation. I'm not remembering all of the Buddhist versions just now, but there's, just things happen where we might get stuck in a memory. We might get stuck in like, we might get a little agitated or feel physically like we can't stand sitting anymore. Like, those are also things that can happen where we kind of get pulled into the past, or we get kind of nervous or agitated about the future. And it might not necessarily be just about the future, but that's usually what agitates me. So those kinds of things that come up while we're meditating that try to pull us away from the present moment, those are our obstacles. And so again, we always return to the same steady practice. So the practice, again, is to start by settling into your environment. That includes whatever you're sitting on, or if you're standing, or if you're doing a walking meditation, like through a labyrinth or down a forest path or anything like that. There's lots of different ways to meditate. You should try them all. But it's to get present in the environment, right? So first start with your environment. And if you are sighted, start with your visual sense. That's, for most sighted people, I think that's probably our strongest sense. And look at your environment, gaze at it, and then allow yourself, if it's okay, to close your eyes, or close your eyes almost all the way. Remember that sleepiness. So we know the environment is there, and then allow yourself to take in the auditory aspect of your environment. There might be little annoying sounds like clocks ticking or water dripping in the faucet, or maybe some machinery or neighbor blowing leaves, that kind of thing. So again, those are things that can create aversion, right? That I want to hear that annoying sound. But if we acknowledge that those sounds are there and we're just going to let it be part of the backdrop, I find that helpful as a way to kind of overcome that layer of aversion. And then you can kind of also use other senses. You can like notice what the environment smells like. And then come home to your body. And you might, at this point, make some little adjustments to like how your hands are placed, or throw in that little lumbar pillow, so you're a little more steady. And then once you're steady with your body, you'll just keep coming back to the body anytime you get lost. And what I like to do is just kind of start at the top of my body and just systematically relax. So relax the top of the head and the eyes. And the facial muscles, especially letting a little bit of space develop between the teeth, the upper and lower jaw. And a little softening around the lips. Since I carry a lot of stress and tension in my upper back, shoulders, across the chest, it's nice to kind of just double check that I'm relaxed there. And if you feel any sort of gripping around the hips, the inner thighs, to kind of hold yourself on your seat, see if you can find a way to sit so that that doesn't have to occur. So sometimes I know I have done this, bought fancy meditation cushions and things, which are delightful, but maybe they don't exactly fit, right? And as time goes on, maybe you change where you meditate or what chair you use, and just so that you can get more comfortable. Because we really want meditation to feel like we're kind of sinking into the hot tub. And then the last of these steps for me is to come to the breath. And you can stop there. You can just pay attention to the breath. So that's single pointed focus meditation. Where we just stay present. Now, for some people, noticing the breath makes you feel breathless or anxious, in which case I would suggest stopping with the physical body, or with some sound or object in the room that you can settle your attention on. The breath is always here and it's always with us, so it's a good tool, but again, if it's not the right tool for you and this makes you agitated or you start to feel really restless, then choose a different tool. Now, what I'm going to try to do is just stay aware. It's just to let my mind rest in the present moment without paying attention to any of these things I just mentioned, and without going off on a concept or a thought process. It's sort of like taking it all in at once. So my mind just went off, like remembering a scene from a TV show, right? So this is what happens when we meditate. Is that I start with open awareness. I'm here, I'm in the present moment, I'm right here with my body, my breath, the space, and then the mind, off it goes. And so those are the things you catch yourself, like fantasizing or whatever it is, and then bring it back, right? So that is, I wasn't crafting a fantasy per se, but my mind went into one of those ones that are, I make readily available to it. So this is the process of meditation and how we work with the aversions, the desires, the obstacles to our meditation practice, is that we recognize they're going to be there and try to get diligent when we catch ourselves. We just, there it is. I was doing that. I was just thinking about that TV show. I was just paying attention to that leaf blower and trying to figure out what it was. I was just whatever it is. And then we come back. And again, come back. Like, start with the environment that you're in. Just replace yourself replace yourself in your body, and it can be, you know, a little scan to make sure you're still relaxed, because sometimes those thoughts will make the muscles tighten up. And then come back home to the breath. And once you're anchored, then you can allow yourself to kind of open the awareness again. Now, it might take a lot of practice. I've been practicing for about 35 years or more, and it still takes practice. So don't get frustrated. That's part of the process. The mind is an organ that does that. It thinks about stuff. It's constantly processing information. And so it can be interesting to see what patterns develop. Are there patterns to your thoughts? Are there patterns to the kinds of things that interrupt your meditation in your head? I think that's interesting, and I've learned a lot from that. So keep working on your meditation, yogis. Even if it's only for a short period of time every day, try to make it a regular habit, and work with these obstacles as best you can. Thanks for joining me, and keep meditating. Namaste, everyone.